Hi, so thank you so much for joining us today. You are the first person for our Journey to Success series with Unlimit. Could you perhaps start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Of course, yeah. So I'm Margherita. I'm originally from Italy, and right now I'm working as a software developer for Massive, a Ubisoft studio in Sweden.
Amazing. That's so exciting.
Yeah,
It must be so interesting. Could you talk us about your career pathway so far? So the journey that's led you to being with Massive?
of course. Yeah. So as I said, I'm originally from Italy. So I studied in Bologna at the University of Bologna, and I that's where I got my bachelor degree and master's degree in computer science. And when I graduated, I got recruited by a French company, a consulting company in the south of France called Alten. And at the time, I had been living in Bologna for more than 5 years, which is kind of unusual for me because I moved around a lot as a kid due to my dad's job. And so I thought, why not? Let's try it. And I packed my bags and I moved to Nice in the south of France, and there I worked. So their main client was Amadeus. So it's a company that does IT solutions for the global travel and tourism industry. So I worked there as a C++ developer. I was very lucky because I joined a project just when it was starting. So I got to see it through, like all the life cycle of a project up to the release. And then yeah, I worked there. I also worked so I was a C++ developer, but then I also became the Scrum Master of my team, which is kind of like a facilitator for the team. So I kind of juggled those two roles, but it was amazing. I really liked, it was an amazing experience. I really liked um, having this other dimension of my job, that it was more interacting with people and seeing everything that goes on behind the project. And I worked there so for about 2 years, and then COVID happened, and a lot of consultant missions were terminated. So I decided to look for something else, and I started sending my CV around, and I got an answer back from Massive, and I interviewed with them, and they made an offer. And again, I was like, I had never been to Sweden before, never set foot in Sweden, but I was really excited to work for Massive, and I thought it was like an excellent opportunity. So I packed my bags again and I moved to Sweden. And now here I am.
That sounds amazing. You've also traveled so much, which
Yeah,
must be beautiful. I personally have only ever lived in the UK, so I can only like aspire to it. But that's amazing and well done. That's an amazing pathway
thank
that you've
you.
been on already. So, in the lead up to you joining with Massive, could you tell us what was it that inspired you to enter computer science? Like, what age did you discover that interest? And what was it that drew you in that led you to where you are now?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a weird story because I have two older brothers, and that are very into tech and computers and programming. So it was kind of always a part of my life because I was like the little sister that always wanted to tag along and do what they were doing. So yeah, I remember when I was like 11, I was obsessed with Johnny Depp, and I wanted to build a website about him. And my brothers bought me an HTML book, and we were on vacation, so I was actually like writing down the code on paper because we didn't have a laptop at the time, and planning out my website. So it was really something that I've liked since I was a kid, and but I never like it wasn't something that I would share with my friends as a hobby or something, because I don't know why. I think not a lot of people I knew were into it, and I thought people wouldn't understand or something like that. So it was really something that I shared with my brothers. Um, and then yeah, I didn't see it as like a job or something. And when I graduated from high school, I actually wanted to go into medicine. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and but yeah, things happened. I had a car accident and I was sick, so life got in the way and I couldn't study as much as I would have to for the entrance exam to go to med school. So I didn't pass it, and I was like, I don't know, I'll do something for a year and then try it again. And then I looked and I was like, okay, yeah, I could try computer science. I mean, I like it. It could be interesting. And then I'll just try the exam next year again and go into medicine as I want to. And then I liked it so much that I just stuck to it and I never changed. And yeah, it was more of a plan B for me. But actually now, like, I could not imagine myself doing anything else. And it feels like it's part of me. So yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm so sorry to hear that you were unwell, but it's clearly led to a beautiful path for you where
Yeah.
you're really happy, which is lovely to hear. I love the part about Johnny Depp because I also love Johnny Depp, but it was Pirates of the Caribbean that done
Yeah.
it for me.
It was around that time.
And what was it that with your career and being in computer science, like in general, there's so much that you can do with it now because that technology and that sort of role is required in so many industries. What was it about gaming that really drew you in?
Well, again, as I said, like I grew up with two older brothers and they were into tech and they were also into gaming. So games were also part of my life for ever since I was a kid. Even like when I didn't properly understand games, I would just click around and have fun. So it's always been something that I felt that I liked. And when I sent my CV, I didn't really think like, it sounds like those kind of dreams, like, oh, I'm gonna be a movie star or I'm gonna be a pop star or something. It's like I'm gonna work for a gaming studio, and but I actually got past the interviews and everything, so that was nice.
I love that. That's because it's literally carried on through your childhood, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think so many of us play games like as a way to escape and relax, and it's such an enjoyable thing. And over the last few decades, it's become a massive industry, even in terms as a career and people monetizing through playing games. So look at you now, it's
Yeah.
incredible. So that ties in quite nicely with the next part, which is what are some of the learnings that you've discovered about working in a STEM field? So even though you're in a very creative industry, as your job itself, that you feel that you would like to share with our viewers and that would be beneficial for them to know and learn from?
Yeah. So one thing is that even if we like take out the gaming industry aspect, just in general coding, I think it has a bit of a reputation of being something very cold and mechanical. I think a lot of people don't see it as a creative thing, but it's actually a very creative thing. It's all about problem solving, and even if you don't work for, like, even when I was working for Amadeus, like in the travel industry, I still felt like I was doing something creative with my brain. It didn't feel like brain dead, just doing a series of things. It was very creative. So that's like one misconception about coding that I think a lot of people have. But other than that, I think like one thing that I learned a lot, especially in the past year, is that because I volunteer for an association that's called Pink Programming, and they do workshops for women to learn coding. Um, and there's always like some women who are there and they talk about their experience. And I kind of learned that having imposter syndrome, like sometimes having these moments where you doubt yourself and you're like, should I even be here, am I really competent? It's normal and everybody has it. I used to feel like I was the only one feeling that way, but then I realized everybody feels like that sometimes. So it's okay to feel that way, and usually it's good to tell yourself it's just the way that you're feeling, it's not reality. So that was one thing. And I think also the last thing is that people skills are important. They're just as important as tech skills. So my dad once told me that the hardest thing about working is not doing the job itself, but actually working with other people. And at the time I was like, okay, dad. But it's true, because like you can be the best developer ever, but if you don't know how to deal with people, it's like you're gonna lose your own sanity and you're not gonna do your best work. So it's always good to have work on your people skills.
That's lovely advice. And it's also really sound advice for everyone in any form of
Yeah.
profession, because, like you said, we're surrounded by people every single day, and we have to learn to communicate professionally with people from different backgrounds. So I love that. And also, good on you for joining the society that promotes women together. I love that. It's really important. You may have already seen that we also have a Female Voices series, which focuses on highlighting women within STEM fields. And that's something that hits my heart very closely. I love that. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. So moving on quite nicely, what are your passions that have connected into your career today, and how are they impacting your dream career status that you would love to achieve? That would be your absolute top goal.
Um, well, of course, like I have passion for what I do. Like I love coding, so it influences my work every day. But what, as you also said, what I love about coding as well and being in computer science is that it can be applicable to any industry. So you will always like have some need of software somewhere. So it's really, so for example, I'm a huge traveler. I love to travel. And when I was working for Amadeus, I was even though I wasn't like being paid to travel, I still felt like I was in the middle of that. I was surrounding myself with people that were passionate about it. I was contributing to the field in some way, and it's always nice to feel. And it can be applied to anything. So I also like video games, and now I'm in the gaming industry. I love to read, so who knows? Maybe in the future I will work for some, I don't know, publishing company or make an app about books or something of the sort. So yeah, it's the thing is like you can always kind of feel like you're contributing to something that you care about, and surround yourself with people that kind of care about it as well, and that's a good thing, and it also creates a good work environment.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I think you made such a good point just there at the end as well about being a software developer and working alongside coding, that it's needed in so many different areas of life. So
Yeah.
even if it is something like your passion for books, there is so much creative room for software developers to enter those sorts of fields. It really is very diverse. And I think maybe people haven't come to realize that as much as you would probably like them to just yet. But looking at the fact that you're in with Massive at the moment and you are in gaming, could you tell us your favorite game and why?
Yeah, so that's always a hard question. I really like games that are very story driven. So for example, I really liked Life is Strange, and I also like games that have a bit of a creepy factor in it for some reason. Like I played Hellblade, which I really liked. It's a really good game, but very creepy. Like I had to play 1 hour and then stop because otherwise it was too much. And now I'm playing the Bioshock series, which are a bit old, but again, it's like a really nice story, and it has a bit of that creepy factor, and you have to piece the story together. So that's very nice. But I guess, yeah, the game that I always go back to is Don't Starve. So it's a survival game, and I really love the art. They have very particular art. And it just gives me, it's kind of a frustrating game because you have to survive in the wilderness, so you have to find resources and everything, and it's very easy to die, and when you die you have to start back from scratch. But every time you try, you can get like another day, another day, another day, and it always feels amazing when you get through the seasons and everything. So it gives you like sort of a sense of accomplishment, and I love that. And it also has a version called Don't Starve Together where you can play with friends. So it was very nice. For example, during the pandemic, it was a nice way to stay connected with friends. And also, I'm long distance with my partner, so it's a way that we can play together, so we can sort of do something together without, since we can't do it physically. So yeah, that's, I guess that would be my favorite game because it's the one I've played the most probably.
That's lovely. I mean, I personally stay away from really scary, dark games. I love ones that focus on like mythology, things like Assassin's Creed and things like that. But I love that. And I think also you highlighted a really great point that games are a really great way for people to connect together. So no matter where you are in the world, you can literally play with someone else. And it brings that sort of sense of connectivity together. And that's a huge part of things like virtual reality now and augmented reality, with things like the metaverse coming along as well, which will be incredible for gaming. So that's lovely to hear. Thank you. Um, so when you are not playing games and you are focusing on your work and your career, what keeps you motivated, especially on days where you feel quite deflated and you're struggling to find that motivation? How do you revamp yourself?
So outside of work, I really like running. So it's one thing that I do on the side that it makes me feel amazing. And I always hate it. And while I'm doing it, I'm like, why do I do this to myself? But after it always feels amazing and I'm ready to take on like the next thing that comes at work. But at work itself, I really try, when I'm demotivated, I really try to think of how far I've come, like all the times that I've had in my career where I felt like I'm not gonna get through this, I'm not able to do this, I don't have the skills to do this, and in the end, I'm here. So obviously, I made it through, and yeah, just trying to focus on that and being like, okay, like I can deal with whatever life deals, and I can get through it, and I'm gonna somehow get to the other side. Um, it's a way to reassure myself. And then another thing that also keeps me motivated a lot is sort of like a feeling that I belong to the team. So that's very important for me, is like to have a team where I feel like I belong, where we have a good relationship, bouncing ideas off each other, having a more senior person that I can go to and say like, I'm not sure about what I'm doing, can you help me out? Um, and just, yeah, having like it helps a lot. It also improves the work culture a lot. And that's also something that I love about Massive, is like the, in general, like not just my small team but just the whole UB Connect department where I work is amazing, because all everybody is so nice and so amazing and the people are really nice. Yeah.
That's lovely to hear. I do think that working environments play such a big part of it, because when you have good people around you, if you're having a day where you're struggling, you know that you have colleagues and potentially friends that will help uplift you. But I think you sharing the fact that you love running as well, like it shows the importance of having something outside of your career,
Yeah.
that when you need to regroup and take a bit of time just to sort of bring yourself back into line, it's a great outlet for you to have. So that's lovely. I wish I could run. I'm just not a runner.
That's what I
um,
thought too.
oh, well, good for you. I think it's so important that we have something that we all enjoy and that we like doing outside of our career, but that obviously helps us stay attuned with what we are doing and help us push ourselves further forward. So, could you share with us so far what your biggest career highlight has been? I know that you probably have many more aspirations you would like to aspire to, but just for now, just one thing that really pops into your mind.
Well, yeah, it's hard to choose one thing. As I said, like I was lucky to work in both my jobs on projects that kind of started out when I joined. So I got to see them through and like see them get released and people actually using them. So that's always gives me a huge sense of accomplishment of me and the team. Like we managed to do this and people are using what we created. Um, yeah, so and in general, like everything, every time I stepped out of my comfort zone and actually managed to achieve things and do things well, And even like not strictly pertaining to work, but for example, when I moved to Sweden, I moved to a country where I didn't know one single person in the middle of a pandemic. And the fact that I managed to like move here, build a life for myself, make friends, and even like do well at my job, uh, it really makes me feel, yeah, like I'm proud of it. That it wasn't easy, and but I did it. So yeah.
No, that's incredible. And that is amazing. So good for you. And also, I hope that you'll always remember those moments, like your highlights, whenever you have that moment of imposter syndrome that you mentioned earlier. It's something that we all have and we all face in our own different way. But it's lovely to hear that both personally and professionally, you feel like you have a list of things that you wouldn't be able to pick from. I think that's really inspiring in itself. So using your career, your journey, your experience, what advice would you give to other young coders, developers, gamers who would like to enter a similar industry, whether in software development, coding, and beyond?
So I think like networking is very important. So starting to like immersing yourself into the industry in some sort. So going to conferences, or for the gaming industry, there's game jams, but there's also hackathons. If we're just talking about software development, all of these events, you meet other people who work in it or are studying or are sort of related to the industry, and it's always good to like again, as I said, people skills are important. And then yeah, like I know it's cliche, but probably like be persistent is a good advice. And I know it's what everybody says, but it's true because I mean everybody gets rejected, and it never feels good. And myself, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm never trying this. I'm never sending a CV again because I just it feels so awful. But the thing is, I guess there's a saying that says the road to success is paved with failures. So that's the thing. Like you just keep on going. Send your CV even if you don't have all the requirements on the job ad, because it doesn't matter, and you never know. And just be persistent, try and try again, and yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I think you summarized that lovely, so I don't even need to really comment on it. That was beautiful. Um, well, that pretty much summarizes our time together today. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's amazing. I'm so honored to have you also as the first person for our Journey to Success series. What a great start. It's
Thank you
been,
for asking me.
oh, of course, it's been a genuine pleasure speaking with you.